Hello, fellow doll enthusiast. So, lately I've been wanting... Why is your hand still up? So, lately I've been wanting to expand my diorama. I know there's a lot of doll owners that like to make their own dioramas and do whatever they feel, but I think maybe you might enjoy this. Thought I'd make a good video just to show you what it takes to make the type I create. It's a stone style. It looks like stones. It's a room with stones. I wanted to make it bigger, a little bit more detailed, and a lot more interesting looking. I like details. I like small details. That being said, I invite you along to come with me and let's build a little doll room. I hope you enjoy. Sorry. So to start, the material I want to use to make these stone walls is foam insulating board. I like using it because it's lightweight, easy to carve, and can be given different textures, actually embossed into the material. So since this was going to be an SD size diorama, I got the larger sheets, but they do come in smaller ones. Here I'm just measuring out the door. I'm making sure to use my largest doll as the base height. So in the past I had good results cutting this foam with a table saw. So I figured maybe a buzzsaw would work just as well this time around. You can imagine my shock when it did not. I think I was running the saw too slow and it stayed in one spot too long and burnt a hole. I'm going to try it again on the other side and see if I go a little bit faster to avoid that whole situation again. And it happened again. I'm going to go ahead and just use my wire foam cutter. I mean, it is specifically made to do this job. Okay, this should give us a much cleaner cut. Much better cut. I'm going to go back later and revise those first two cuts I made. And of course, the cat wants to know what's going on. Good kitty. And here we are just measuring out two windows. And cutting them out. I'm going to have to remember this next time so I don't go do something stupid and try to use a buzzsaw or table saw. This is much more reliable. And that was the easy part. The hard part's coming up. The details. So again, taking more measurements because this time around, I'm going to be putting a molding around the top. Here's a stencil I made to make some accents for the wall. It should help all of them look almost identical. Just going to outline these a few times, make a couple, and throw in some borders as well to go around the walls. Now, since I want to be inside for most of this, which will take a long time, I prefer to use my X-Acto knife. If I was using my hot wire, I have to go outside due to the fumes. And to see how it would look later on, I'll just line everything up to make sure it's measured out correctly. And I'm going to put one more layer on top of that border to make it more detailed. And again, these will be running the full length of all the walls. Looking pretty good. And with that, I'm going to lay everything out and outline it all and number them so I know where everything went. So this has been a lot of work so far. It rained yesterday, so we're going to go out and put our feet in a stream. If you don't like feet, you're about to see them in a second. Isn't that just relaxing? Okay, time to get back to work. Next up is the windows and doors. I need to make a frame for them. Using the part I cut out from earlier, I'm using it as a stencil for how wide it should be. And again, I'm using a stencil to make the windows look identical. Make sure to be careful when using a blade. As for the door, I'm going to carve a little bit of the width to make up for the fact that I messed up earlier with the buzzsaw. Also, if you decide to use insulation foam, pins make great little helpers to hold things down for you. Now with the frame in place, I can measure out the lintel for the top. And again, we're making another stencil for the details. I don't really follow a plan or anything, I just kind of go with the flow. And here we are just transferring the outline. Looking pretty good. I want these walls to look like they have stonework in them. And to save myself a headache and trying to jigsaw everything together, I'm going to use this vinyl wall covering. I'm just going to be using it as a guide to where all the bricks are going to be laid. I'm embossing it with the end of a pen into the foam. This should save me a lot of time in trying to figure out where everything's at. And with that done, I just go back over it and pen. And I continue like this across all the foam walls where I want brickwork to show. So after figuring out where I'm going to put my frame at, I go ahead and continue with the stone pressing. Knowing where the frame is, I know where not to cut. Now it's starting to really take shape. Here I'm just making a few more details for the window frames. I like using whatever's on hand, as long as it's the right shape or size. Next up, I need Bevel the crown molding. Make sure everything's about the right size and place. I'll go ahead and line it back up again, pin them down, and have at it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to at least kind of have everything lined up well. And for the very top accent molding, I'll just do it freehand. It doesn't be all that well done. Now to make this look almost like stone, I just take my craft knife and follow the lines. I dig it in at one angle, flip the piece of foam around, dig it from the other, making almost a triangle shape, and pop it out. Do that a couple hundred times and it gives you the look of laid stone. Now to get some of this foam a textured look, I just dig in with the dentist tool. Using a dentist tool is hard work when you're trying to pull out foam. So I wound up having to wrap it up with some cotton and some duct tape so it's easy to hold and not so painful. The detail it gives is great. The texture is awesome. Here I'm just making a guideline because I'm going to bevel this again, but I want it to be more well placed. So this will help. And with that done, I'm going to have to start cutting out all these lines to give it a stone laid look. That's a lot of lines to cut out. Again, if this is something you want to try to do, this could be a lot of work depending on how big or how detailed you want it. But if you keep at it, rest up a couple of times, the result is rewarding. Again, I'm just digging my knife in at angles on each side of the line, repetitively. Looking really good now. And now the next step. I'm going to sand every single corner of every single stone to smooth them out. To help me with that, I'm just going to glue some sandpaper to a popsicle stick. And like I said, every single corner of every single stone to be filed down so it doesn't look so crisp. It's going to take a long time. But occasionally I'll go outside and enjoy myself. Now with that done, I'm going to start making some details in the stones. I'm going to add some cracks. I just do a general cut and widen it out a little bit. And then after that, I take a blunt tool and smooth out the corner so it doesn't look so clean. I'm also going to distress the stone. It doesn't take much. I just need to scrape at it or pick at it, and it leaves a nice little indentation to where it looks like it's been weathered away. To get the tool marks out of the doorway, I'm just going to use a hand sander. It gives it a smooth edge, but if I feel like it, I can still weather it up. Same thing I'll do to the window edges. Now the most painstaking detail is making the foam look like stone. To do that, I throw the foam on the ground and stomp all over it. As you can see, it's highly delicate work. You have to be an expert to know how to do this correctly. Otherwise, you'll have foam that looks like it has been stepped on onto rocks. So please be careful. You don't want to have that happen. Making sure it's not overbaked. Nope, still needs a few more steps. So we'll go ahead and do it a little bit more. All I have to do is make sure I'm not on too big of a hill because the foam can snap if I'm not careful. Kitty always wants to help. Looking pretty good. Alright, now we can go ahead and start gluing everything together. Again, everything's labeled and positioned correctly, so all I have to do is glue it, stick it, and then drill it. Yes, it's good to have all these pieces drilled down so they don't move and they have good contact with the back pieces. Although later on, I will, after it dries, I'll take these screws back out and stick them through the top portion that's going to be laying on top of them. And I repeat across the entire length of these walls. To make sure there's good contact, I face the walls towards each other and clamp them all together. After these are dry, I think I'll put a little bit more on top. And after that's dried, I do the same thing again to the top accent moldings as well as the window frames and door frame. And after that, I clamp them back together, facing each other. Also, I want to mention that this actually isn't glue. This is actually paint. It's called Glidden Gripper. It works very well with foam insulation. And after all that dries, I start putting on wood filler where there's holes or spaces I didn't plan on and I don't want, such as the ones made by these screws. Make sure to be generous. You want to make sure all your screws are concealed. Okay, now that all the holes are filled, I'm going to go off and help clean a hedgehog. This is Miss Dee Dee getting her a foot bath. She's 6 years old. She's an old lady, and we really love her. Now that the hedgehogs are clean, we're going to go back, sand down the wood filler, and give it a smooth surface. And with all that sanded, all I have to do is dust the surface and make sure it's clean for the next step, which is painting. Now with this, it's going to be 3 layers of paint. One's going to be the darkest to show the detail. Another one's going to be a little step up lighter than that. And the last one's going to be the highlight step. Normally I would use black as my first layer, but I decided I want this one to look more organic, more realistic. So I went with the dark gray. Remember, this is your world. There's no such thing as mistakes, just happy accidents. But with the next step, you can make a mistake. So now that that's all covered, I'm going to go and use a lighter shade of gray. This is going to be kind of a dry brush method. For this, you don't want the brush loaded up with paint. It's dry brush, so a little goes a long way. is to give a little highlight to the details you have on the foam. So gingerly, all I'm doing is just dragging the brush across the foam, putting down a layer of paint, but not too thick, because I want some of the dark undertones to show through it. That's what gives it a little bit more detail. Just pick up a little bit more paint. Yeah, just a little bit. This part here shows you a lot of how all that rock stomping gives the foam some dimension. It gives it character. A light brush, a little paint, goes a long way. It's coming together real good. Now we just have one more paint layer to go. This is an extremely dry brush. There's hardly any paint on it, but it's more to catch the light on areas that's either a peak or an edge, give it some definition, really make cracks and crevices pop and indentations, and to make the stone look more stony. It makes it look more ashy. To make the wall look more realistic, I randomly put the paint in places. I don't lay it all the way across the foam. Again, this is a highlight, so I use it sparingly, only highlighting certain areas, places I think would look very nice to have highlighted. As a special feature, I'm going to make these interlock together. All I need to do is drill 4 holes through these connecting points in the wall, and then lock them together with the carriage bolts, nut, and some washers. That'll make this thing easy to keep itself up, and I don't have to worry about falling over. I forgot to buy some nuts, so I'm just using clips to keep it together. And here it is, all set up. I'm really happy with the way it came out. And wait, what is that? Ugh. Okay, now that I flicked that bug off of him, yes, I'm really happy with the way it came out. All the work was worth it. The detail is awesome. There's shadows and gradation all over the place. This will make a great little set for my guys. And I hope you agree all the work was well worth it. I'm really excited about this. Little side note, I'm really proud of this as well. I made a little quilt for my guys. I wish I could make one in life because this has a great weight to it, but that is a lot of work. So if any of you make quilts out there, all the power to you. That is some hard work. So we finally finished our project, and I'm really happy with the results, and that my dudes are going to have an awesome little set for whatever little things they want to do. And I hope you are inspired to make something yourself, and if so, that's great, and I hope it goes well. Thanks for watching. Bye.